Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. Siheyuan. Start with a violent beating meme at the beginning. He returned to the courtyard house, beating the stick meme and angrily attacking Yi Zhonghai. Afterwards, he harshly scolded Silly Zhu and cleaned up all the birds, and no one dared to provoke him. Afterwards, I started doing business and relied on my foresight to make a living. Qin Huai is so jealous that he wants to snatch business. Then let her lose everything. The introduction is weak, please read the content. It is absolutely exciting. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Beating the Stick Meme. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding. The host has arrived at the check.in location, the check.in system is activated, and a host check.in gift package is presented as a gift. Finally opened, it's not easy. Yang Weiguo sighed in his heart. I spent a lot of money to come back. I traveled to this world 5 years ago. At that time, it was already on the train. My predecessor was trapped by the beasts in the courtyard and forced to go to the countryside. Originally, Bang Zhen was going to the countryside, but how could Qin Huai be willing to let Bang Zhen suffer in the countryside? Not to mention it's not so easy to come back after going to the countryside. So she joined forces with those animal traps Yang Weiguo to go to the countryside. At that time, he hated himself for traveling late. Unable to change, he can only accept it. Just as he was accepting fate, the system appeared. But he needs to return to the courtyard to open it. But in this era, it's not easy to come back. In recent years, in order to come back, he has tried every means to spend all the money on his body, but still failed to achieve his wish. In the end, it was the big shot he met during his trip to the countryside that brought him back. If it weren't for the help of this big shot, he would still be in the countryside now. Although his life in the countryside is not difficult, going to the countryside is never as good as going to the city. Not to mention awakening the system. Retrieving his thoughts, Yang Weiguo checked the big gift package. Grandmaster level Wing Chun Quan, with a portable space. Yang Weiguo first checks his personal space. The space area is the size of a football field, all covered in black soil. You can enter consciously or physically. 1 year inside is equivalent to 1 day outside. In addition to planting, animals can also be raised inside. The spatial area is not fixed and can still be expanded. Expansion conditions, system check.in obtained, or investment in jade. In the future, plan carefully and rely on space to make him prosperous. Consciousness comes out of space, Yang Weiguo's communication system. System, accept inheritance. Inheritance begins. A warm current spread throughout the body, coming and going quickly, but disappeared in just 1 minute. Yang Weiguo felt like his whole body was full of strength, as if he could kill a cow with just 1 punch. Yang Weiguo entered the courtyard only after receiving the inheritance of Wing Chun Quan at the master level. As soon as I entered the front yard, I saw Mr. 3 pruning potted plants. I didn't want to pay attention to him. Just as he took a few steps, Uncle San stopped him. Yang Weiguo, why did you come back 3 days early? Didn't the street office say you won't be back until 3 days later? Upon hearing the footsteps, Uncle San instinctively turned his head and glanced back. Unexpectedly, it was Yang Weiguo. Yang Weiguo returned, and the street office notified him a few days ago. He only asked in surprise when he came back at the wrong time. Is there any problem with me coming back early? Is it possible that I still need to notify you in advance and get your consent when I come back? Yang Weiguo turned around and looked directly at Uncle San, questioning him. Uncle San's expression was slightly awkward. There's not a big problem, it's just that your house hasn't been cleaned up yet. But it's not a big deal either. You can stay at my house for 2 days and squeeze in with liberation in Jiquang, no need, thank you. Yang Weiguo didn't believe he would be so kind. A person who can split a penny into two halves will let you take advantage of it for no reason. Thinking with his toes, he must have been interested in the preserved meat and sausages in his hand. Eating and staying at his house, why don't you take it out? Weiguo, don't leave yet. Listen to me, something has happened to you in the past few years, and your house is now living in a great place. Bang Gung now has a partner and will soon get married, so Qin Huai and Silly Zhu will pay to repair one of the back guard rooms in the backyard for you to live in. It is still under repair and it will take at least 2 days to complete, I understand. Yang Weiguo just replied calmly and then continued walking into the courtyard. Yang Weiguo had anticipated that the house would be occupied. So he didn't show any signs of anger or surprise. It is surprising that Qin Huai, like their personalities, does not dominate. When he returned, he had already thought of countermeasures. He was not surprised, but Uncle San was very surprised. Quickly followed up. Yang Weiguo arrived and entered the courtyard, heading straight to his house. Grandpa Yi called him from behind. Weiguo, wait a moment. Grandpa Yi was surprised by Yang Weiguo's early return. Seeing that he didn't say hello, Grandpa Yi felt a faint anger in his heart. Seeing Yang Weiguo walking towards where Bangeng currently resides, he couldn't sit still and stood up to call out to Yang Weiguo. Yang Weiguo ignored him and continued to walk forward, kicking open the door. Yang Weiguo, are you deaf? Didn't you hear me call you? Stop it. Grandpa Yi chased after Yang Weiguo and rebuked him. Yang Weiguo didn't seem to hear it and kicked the door open before entering directly. The stick meme sleeping in the room was furious. You're so desperate, you dare to kick my door. Bang Gung punched Yang Weiguo. Yang Weiguo launched a surprise attack, grabbing the fist of the stick and kicking him in the abdomen. The penis has bulging veins, protruding eyes, mouth open, and feet off the ground. At first glance, it was clear that this kick was not light. If it weren't for Yang Weiguo catching him, he would definitely have flown out. That's not all, Yang Weiguo pulled the stem back with force, and then hit the stem with an elbow. The stick fell heavily to the ground and passed out. Grandpa Yi was furious and said, Yang Weiguo, you broke into a private house and even hurt someone. Do you think I'm just a decoration? Yang Weiguo was the first to hurt others in front of him and turn his words in the ear. How can he not be angry? Yang Weiguo turned around and looked at him coldly, you think too highly of yourself. You don't have the qualifications to be a decoration. In my eyes, you are just air. Grandpa Yi was so angry that he couldn't even speak, and his body trembled as he pointed at Yang Weiguo. As the first master of the courtyard, this is the first time someone has not taken him seriously. He was so angry that he couldn't speak for a moment. When he took a breath and was ready to speak, Yang Weiguo had already picked up the stick and walked over. Grandpa Yi instinctively feared and took a few steps back. Yang Weiguo, are you going to rebel? Grandpa Yi angrily rebuked. Yang Weiguo threw out the stick meme before turning around and saying, I rebelled. Who did I rebel against? You treat yourself as a local emperor, and if others don't listen to you, is it rebellion? Do you know that you are breaking the law by trespassing on a residential property and injuring someone? If you dare to throw someone out now, I will send you to the office. Grandpa Yi doesn't want to give Yang Weiguo a chance anymore. Not listening to him, still hurting people in front of him, throwing them out, completely giving him no face. Such a person must not stay. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. Who is the violator of the law? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yang Weiguo, how dare you hit me? I will depose you. Bang Ji was awakened by a fall. The first thing I do when I wake up is to rush towards Yang Weiguo. Being beaten so hard and with so many people watching, doesn't he want face? He couldn't swallow the sound of not beating Yang Weiguo hard. In his anger, he never thought about the gap between him and Yang Weiguo. Don't say that Yang Weiguo is now the master of Wing Chun. Even before accepting the inheritance, Yang Weiguo was able to completely abuse him. As soon as I entered the door, I was kicked out with a kick. He rolled on the ground in pain. Grandpa Yi's anger is unforgivable. Someone, arrest Yang Weiguo and send him to the police station. Yang Weiguo looked around and said sternly, whoever dares to take a step forward, the stick meme is his end. The Lu Guangtian brothers and Yan Jifang brothers, who had originally intended to step forward, hesitated and hesitated. They dare not step forward to take action, and the women in the courtyard are even more afraid. Grandpa Yi was furious and said angrily, "Are all of you still afraid of him?" Grandpa Er couldn't bear to look down and said, "You two go up and catch him, and take him to the police station." Mr. San did not express himself and warned his two sons not to act recklessly with his eyes. When the Lu Guangtian brothers glanced at each other and were about to step forward and take action, Yang Weiguo spoke up. "Did I break the law by taking me to the police station?" Grandpa Yi immediately angrily retorted, "Why didn't you break the law? You broke into a private house and hurt someone. It's not a crime, what is it?" Yang Weiguo sneered, "This house is under my name. Am I also breaking into a private residence when I go home? He took over my house and even attacked me. I fought him out in self-defense, how could it be a violation of the law? He has taken over my house, and it's already good not to send him to the police station. Do you still want to send me in? Do you really think I have a good temper and let you bully me?" Yang Weiguo countered with an army. Grandpa Yi's face looks very ugly. "Yang Weiguo, this is a strong argument. Although the house used to be yours, it was already given to the pillar after you left. The pillar gave the house to Bang Ji, and now the house belongs to Bang Ji. When did I give the house as a gift? How come I don't know? When I came back, I also went to the street office, and the house was still under my name. Now you're telling me that the house doesn't belong to me. Is it possible that your rights are even greater than those of the street office? Can you freely allocate my house?" Yang Weiguo further questioned, and Grandpa Yi's face became even worse. "Even if the house is still under your name, you cannot harm anyone." At first, they also wanted to transfer the house to the name of Silly Zhu. Without Yang Weiguo's consent, the street office does not agree to the transfer of ownership. Although there was no transfer of ownership, they still treated the house as their own. They just don't know that Yang Weiguo is not the weak and deceitful Yang Weiguo he used to be. Previously, they received notification of Yang Weiguo's return and thought that if they fooled Yang Weiguo a little, they would agree to exchange his house with the rear cover. I never thought that the weak and deceitful Yang Weiguo would refuse. So what if I hurt him? If you don't agree, go report to the police and let them catch me. Yang Weiguo is not at all panicked. The house belongs to him, and Yi Zhonghai and his team are unreasonable. Even if the police come, he is not afraid. Being lawless is simply lawless. Today I must teach you a lesson. Grandpa Yi was so angry that he couldn't save face and even provoked his authority. He must teach Yang Weiguo a lesson. Guangtian Guangfu, liberate Jiquang. Come and arrest him, take him to the police station. Lao Yi, things shouldn't have escalated to the police station yet. With all these years of neighbors' lives, there's nothing difficult to overcome. Uncle San doesn't want his two sons to participate. Judging from Yang Weiguo's performance today, he is no longer the weak and deceitful Yang Weiguo he used to be. This matter was originally caused by Yi Zhonghai and his team's lack of reason, and even if they caused trouble at the police station, they couldn't get a good deal. He has nothing to do with Yang Weiguo, there is no need to offend him. He likes to take advantage of things, but he won't get involved in such things. When he started hitting people, did he ever think about years of neighborhood affection? Have you ever thought about my care for him when he contradicted me? If it weren't for us back then, he would have starved to death long ago. What he did today was like a white-eyed wolf for those who don't listen to him. Yi Zhonghai will never leave him in the courtyard. The most difficult thing is that Su Damao dare not ignore him like Yang Weiguo. Yang Weiguo, who has always been at his mercy, how can he tolerate Yang Weiguo's disobedience? If Yang Weiguo is not taught a lesson today and his neighbors follow suit, what authority does he have in the courtyard in the future? Lao Yi, this is ultimately your family business, so we won't be able to participate. You can do whatever you want. Uncle Sen felt that he had already said what he needed to say, but Yi Zhonghai insisted that he had no choice. As an outsider, he saw very clearly that Yi Zhonghai couldn't do anything to Yang Weiguo today. Old Yen, you. Yi Zhonghai never expected that Uncle San would go against him at this moment. Being so disrespectful to him, I cursed Uncle San for his lack of loyalty in my heart. Fortunately, Grandpère stood on his side. Guangtian, Guangfu, you two go and catch him. The Lu Guangtian brothers dare not disobey the second grandpa and can only grit their heads. Bang Ji will also slow down this time, and he is preparing to take action with the Lu Guangtian brothers. The three formed an encirclement and slowly approached. What are you afraid of when you hit each other 3 times? Let's do it. Grandpa Yi noticed that they were slow and couldn't keep up, urging them to take action quickly. At this moment, he couldn't help but think of Silly Zhu. If Silly Zhu were here, there would be no need for him to urge him. I have already rushed forward to subdue Yang Weiguo. Lu Guangtian and the others exchanged a glance and then rushed forward together. Yang Weiguo did not retreat but advanced, grabbed Lu Guangtian who was approaching first, and then pushed back and collided with Lu Guangfu, causing the two to fall to the ground. Another kick kicked the flying stick stem. In just one turn, the three were knocked down. Everyone present was shocked. They knew that Yang Weiguo was powerful. After all, Bata Ji was knocked down in just one round, and there was not necessarily enough strength to achieve it. But 3 people working at the same time couldn't even touch the corner of Yang Weiguo's clothes. It is evident that there is a huge gap between them. Even the silly pillar, the god of war in the courtyard, cannot achieve this. The Yen Jifang brothers were grateful that Uncle San did not let them go, otherwise they would have been knocked down and lost face like Lu Guangtian and the others. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. Who else? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Who else? Yang Weiguo looked outside, and no one dared to look at him. His gaze fell on Grandpa Yi, who instinctively took 2 steps back. Immediately, he thought of being scared back by the gaze of a younger generation, becoming angry and embarrassed. What are you looking at? Is it difficult? Do you still want to hit me? If you hit someone for no reason, you have to take action against the old man. I think he wants to spend the rest of his life in prison. Uncle Air still couldn't see the situation clearly, so he came forward to support Yi Zhonghai at this time. I hit people for no reason. Are you blind? Or do you mean you can be lawless in the courtyard, you can hit people, but I can't fight back? I didn't expect that after I left for a few years, the police station would be run by your family. It's amazing. It's really amazing. As Yang Weiguo finished speaking, a voice came from outside. Who has the courage to say that the police station is run by his family? Everyone followed the sound and saw that it was the director of the street office who came with 2 people. Uncle Air immediately came forward to report, Director Lin, you came just in time. Yang Weiguo was lawless and had just returned when he broke into residential buildings and even started hitting people. Now it's even more outrageous to hit us old men. Hurry up and catch him, take him to the police station. After finishing speaking, he still proudly looked at Yang Weiguo, as if saying, you're doomed this time. Grandpa Yi also followed and said, Director Lin, everyone present can testify. Yang Weiguo started beating people. Grandpa 1 is not as brainless as Grandpa 2. The house belongs to someone else and cannot be considered as a private intrusion. So he focused on Yang Weigua's assault and didn't mention the incident of breaking into a private residence. After speaking, he also signaled to his neighbors to help testify. The Lu Guangqian brothers came forward to prove that Yang Weigua had attacked them. Some neighbors also came forward to testify. I thought with so many witnesses, Director Lin would stand on their side and have his subordinates arrest Yang Weigua. I still thought to myself that it would be best for Yang Weigua to resist, and then his responsibility would be even greater. Unexpectedly, Director Lin not only did not do so, but also walked up to Yang Weigua and kindly asked. "Comrade Yang Weigua, what's going on? You can tell me." It is obvious that Director Lin is leaning towards helping Yang Weigua. Grandpa Yi and the others felt heavy-hearted and their faces looked very ugly. Grandpa Er said displeased, "Director Lin, so many of us can prove that he hit someone. What else are you asking him? Take him directly to the police station and have the police officers educate him well." Director Lin turned to look at Grandpa Er and said displeased, "Do I need your guidance on how to do things? I haven't figured things out yet. Can we arrest people casually? Even if the police officers come to handle it, they should ask clearly and not be biased or untrustworthy. Now I want to understand the situation. Don't interrupt me, otherwise I will arrest you first." Grandpa Er was very frustrated, but he could only endure it. Grandpa E dare not speak up. Director Lin warned Mr. Er before continuing to ask Yang Weigua. Yang Weigua replied, "Director Lin, the situation is like this. When I went home and opened the door, I saw Bang Ji sleeping inside. Before I could ask him, he suddenly became violent and wanted to hit me. I can't just stand still and let him fight, I'll fight back in self-defense. Who knew he was vulnerable to a single blow and suddenly passed out? I'll get the fainting stick out. Then Yi Zhonghai came over and scolded me, saying that I broke into a private house and hurt someone for no reason. I argued with him that when I go back to my own home, why is it just a private intrusion into a private residence? He said the house is no longer mine and has been given to Silly Zhu. Silly Zhu let stick stay inside. I argued with him, but he couldn't handle me. So I teamed up with Lu Haizhong and asked Lu Guangqian and the others to take action. Is it my fault to take them down in self-defense?" Mr. E immediately retorted, "Director Lin, it's not what he said. I stopped him when he came back and wanted to explain to him. He didn't listen to me and violently kicked the door. When he saw the stick inside, he started knocking it unconscious and then threw it out. I argued with him, but he couldn't listen and threatened us, so we had to take action." Grandpa Er quickly agreed, "Yes, what Lao Yi said is the truth. He has been away for so many years, and the house has been empty. That's why we gave up his house. He comes back and hits people indiscriminately, he's a violent person. We just want to subdue him and reason with him. I sent someone to inform you a few days ago that Yang Weigua is coming back soon. Isn't all these days enough for you to tidy up the house? Also, what power do you have to allocate other people's houses? You are only responsible for mediating neighborhood disputes in the courtyard and do not have the power to order anyone in the courtyard, nor do you have the power to allocate houses in the courtyard. Do you really take yourself seriously holding chicken feathers?" As the Arrow Director Lin didn't give any face and loudly rebuked Mr. Er and the others. Yang Weigua said, "Director Lin, the reason why Bongging didn't move is because he wanted to use the back cover room in the backyard to exchange for the main room in my middle courtyard. They want to occupy my house, you have to do justice for me. Embezzlement of others' property is a crime. If you accuse the wicked first, saying that they are lawless, I think you are the ones who are lawless." Director Lin once again angrily rebuked them. Mr. E quickly explained, "Director Lin, we didn't want to occupy his house. Because the date you mentioned hasn't arrived yet, I didn't let the meme move out. We are thinking that in the next 2 days, when the back cover of the courtyard is repaired, we will have Bang Gung move out and tidy it up. We will return it to Yang Weiguo when he returns. He dare not admit to wanting to occupy the house. This matter was told to me by Grandpa San. Director Lin, you can ask Grandpa San. Yang Weiguo pointed at Grandpa San and said. Director Lin looked at Grandpa San and said, Teacher Yen, do you think they want to occupy Comrade Yang Weiguo's house? Uncle San dared not admit it. I never said that Lao Yi and his companions were going to occupy the house in Wei State. I just said that Wei State's house is now occupied by the stick. Uncle San doesn't want to offend Yi Zhonghai. Embezzlement of someone else's property is a crime, and this matter is not something I can handle. All those who just participated will go to the police station for investigation. Director Lin, we really didn't want to occupy Yang Weiguo's house. Have you? When you arrive at the police station, you can explain slowly and the police will investigate again. If you really don't, there won't be anything wrong. What are you panicking about? Director Lin insists on sending them to the police station. It's strange that Grandpa Yi doesn't panic. He looked at Yang Weiguo and said, Weiguo, it was our fault before. You have a large amount, don't argue with us anymore. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. The truth about Daqing's departure in the past. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Why did that momentum disappear just now? Didn't you say you wanted to send me to the police station? Yang Weiguo looked at Grandpa Yi jokingly. Grandpa Yi is very frustrated. He lost face today and ended up at home. Weiguo, for the sake of our neighbors' many years and the many things I helped you with when you were young, can we just let this matter go? Under the eaves, people have to bow their heads. Now he is unreasonable and needs to be sent to the police station. No matter how much he tries to suppress it, he also demands Yang Weiguo. When I was a child, you helped me a lot, thanks to your words. I took the subsidy that originally belonged to me and said it was you who helped me, making me grateful to you. I have seen many shameless people, but it is the first time I have seen someone as shameless as you. My predecessor's father sacrificed his life for catching spies and was named a martyr because he was a soldier. My mother is a steel rolling mill worker, and she was also killed in retaliation by the spy for reporting the spy. At that time, Yang Weiguo was only 3 years old, and the government provided monthly subsidies to ensure his living needs. At first, Daqing was responsible for taking care of Yang Weiguo, and Daqing did not mistreat Yang Weiguo. When Daqing left at the age of 6, he secretly gave Yang Weiguo 200 yuan and instructed not to let anyone know, including Silly Zhu. Also remind Yang Weiguo to be careful of Yi Zhonghai, he is not a good person. After Daqing left, it was originally taken over by Silly Pillar, but Silly Pillar was deceived by Yi Zhonghai and ultimately taken over by Yi Zhonghai. To get to the point, Director Lin finished listening and angrily rebuked Yi Zhonghai. You are even greedy for the subsidies of the martyr's family. This is illegal. If it were a few years ago, it would have been enough to make a living. But even now, you can't be good anymore. You'll have to go to jail for at least 10 years. Yi Zhonghai hurriedly explained, I don't have it, I'm not greedy for a penny, I've spent all of it on him and the silly brother and sister. At first, he did consider keeping some tickets, but the deaf old lady warned him not to keep them and to use them all on Yang Weiguo. He was grateful that he had listened to the deaf old lady's words, otherwise he wouldn't be able to be kind today. I can't believe you now. You should go to the police station and explain to the police officers. Just as Director Lin finished speaking, there came the sound of Silly Pillars. Whoever wants to catch Grandpa 1, pass my level first. Silly Zhu and Qin Huai have returned. It was Aunt Yi who went to notify them. After returning from Yang Weiguo, if she didn't listen to Grandpa Yi, Aunt Yi felt that things were not going well and immediately went to the steel rolling mill to notify Silly Zhu. When Silly Zhu heard that Yang Weiguo had returned, he even made a joke and didn't listen to Grandpa Yi. He rushed back with Qin Huai in a hurry. I just heard Director Lin say he wants to send Yi Zhonghai to the government, and he instinctively wants to protect Yi Zhonghai. Approaching Yi Zhonghai, he glared angrily at Yang Weiguo and said, Yang Weiguo, you white-eyed wolf. Without me and Grandpa Yi, you would have starved to death long ago. You don't listen to Grandpa Yi now and have to send him to see the official. Are you still human? If it weren't for Director Lin here, stupid Zhu would have taken action directly. It is said that only the wrong name is given, and there is no wrong nickname called. As expected. If it weren't for Yi Zhonghai threatening your father back then, your father wouldn't have left with the widow. Grandpa Yi was taken aback and quickly interrupted Yang Weiguo. Yang Weiguo, don't slander me. He Daqing left when he took a liking to that widow, and no one forced him. Grandpa Yi is feeling guilty. He did indeed force He Daqing to leave back then. Except for the parties involved and the adults, only his wife and the deaf old lady know about this matter. Did He Daqing tell Yang Weiguo? It must be. Damn He Daqing, didn't he promise not to speak out? If Silly Zhu finds out the truth, he is likely to turn against each other. Fortunately, Silly Zhu believed him. Silly Zhu once again angrily rebuked Yang Weiguo. Yang Weiguo, don't talk nonsense without evidence. If you slander Mr. One again, don't blame me for being impolite at this moment. Grandpa Yi also stood up and said, Yang Weiguo, if you want to use this excuse to whitewash your identity as a white-eyed wolf, there's no way. No one will believe you. Yang Weiguo sneered, then turned around and returned to the room. He dug out a letter from his luggage and threw it to Silly Zhu. You see for yourself, the truth from back then is right inside. Silly Pillar bent down to pick up the letter with half faith and half doubt. Grandpa Yi's heart became even more anxious. He stopped Silly Zhu and said, Zhu, don't listen to him. Even if there is any evidence, it is still fabricated by him. He can now be certain that He Daqing told Yang Weiguo about what happened back then. Silly Pillar, have you seen it? He's feeling guilty, Yang Weiguo said, pointing to Grandpa Yi, who was sweating on his forehead. Grandpa Yi, I just want to see what he calls evidence. I won't believe him, don't worry. Silly Zhu comforted him, but before Grandpa One could reply, he picked up the letter and opened it to read. Grandpa Yi really wants to snatch the letter and prevent foolish Pillar from reading it. But in the end, I held back. Isn't grabbing a letter by hand a sign of guilt? Silly Zhu looked at the letter, his face becoming increasingly ugly. Still showing an angry expression. After reading the content of the letter, he looked up and glared angrily at Grandpa Yi. Yi Zhonghai, you righteous hypocrite, I will destroy you. Silly Zhu angrily raised his fist and hit Yi Zhonghai. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. Bang Ji and Qin Huai sever their relationship and leave home. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Qin Huai on the side quickly hugged the Silly Pillar. Silly Pillar, don't be impulsive. Don't say that the content in the letter may not be true. Even if it's true, you can't impulsively hit someone. Qin Jie, in the letter, besides explaining the truth about my father's departure back then, there are also the unknown things I did when I was a child. It can't be fabricated, I believe it's true. Hurry up and let go of me. Even if I can't kill him today, I'll beat him up. Silly Zhu struggled to make Qin Huai let go of him, but Qin Huai not only didn't let go, but also tightly hugged him. She also read the content of the letter and it is indeed highly credible. Even she believed it was true. But she can't let Silly Zhu take action. It's not that you're worried about stupid Zhu hitting someone and causing trouble. She was afraid that Silly Zhu and Grandpa One would turn against each other. Once they turn against each other, she will stand in line and lose one side. Both of them are long-term meal tickets to their family, and if Qin Huai doesn't want to lose either side. Qin Huai, you let go of me. You promised me that you wouldn't have any unclear relationship with him. What's wrong with you holding each other now? This statement was made with a stick joke. He still couldn't distinguish the situation and came out to cause trouble at this moment. At this moment, he only had one idea, which was to see Silly Zhu and Grandpa Yi fighting, preferably turning against each other. He had already looked down on the two of them, especially Grandpa Yi, who always seemed preachy. Just keep nagging about small things. Refuting him would say he is impolite and doesn't know how to be grateful. If Qin Huai didn't know what Bang Zhen was thinking, she wouldn't get used to Bang Zhen either. Everything started because of you, and you didn't have the ability to solve it. Now everyone is helping you to create this situation. Don't cause trouble here, just go home and stay with me. Qin Huairu was actually very helpless, having such a son made her feel heartbroken. Bang Ji was about to refute, but Yang Weiguo spoke up first. I didn't expect to leave for a few years, and you are even more useless than before. Now even your mother thinks you're useless. What's the point of living? If I were you, I would have died from a head-on collision. Qin Huairu immediately retorted, Yang Weiguo, don't stir up trouble here. I didn't mean that. Yang Weiguo looked disdainfully at Qin Huairu and then said to Bang Gung. Great meme, when I left, your mother and grandmother were obedient to you. Why were you fooled into being useless by them after I left? If your partner finds out that you are a coward with no status at home, do you think your partner will marry you? Yang Weiguo further stimulates the stick meme. Qin Huai was furious, but before she could scold him, Bang Ji roared angrily. You immediately let go of him, otherwise I won't recognize you as a mother. If Qin Huai was really speechless, such an obvious instigation of discord would have fooled the stick meme. If he's not her son, she really doesn't want to care about him anymore. Stick meme, can you understand something? It's obvious that you're stirring up trouble. Why do you still listen to him? Qin Huai tearfully spoke to the stick meme with a tearful tone. Silly Zhu listened to his crying voice and saw Qin Huai shedding tears, his anger extinguished. He felt heartbroken and rebuked Bang Ji, saying, Bang Ji, your mother has given so much for you. It's not easy for her to raise you so much. If you don't be filial to her properly, it's okay. It's also hurting her heart. What kind of thing are you? What qualifications do you have to preach to me? You should mind our family's affairs. Stick memes angrily attack foolish pillars. Stick meme, how could you talk to your silly uncle like that? Apologize to him quickly. Qin Huai, as if seeing silly pillar's anger rise again, quickly scolded Bang Ji. No wonder when I came back, I heard others say you were a little tattered shoe. Now I finally understand. It turns out that your mother's relationship with Silly Zhu is still unclear. Promising to draw a clear line between you and Silly Zhu back then was just empty talk. Yang Weiguo once again stimulated Bang Ji, which is still the shame that Bang Ji least wants to face. Yang Weiguo, please shut up for me. It's not your turn to intervene in our family's affairs. Qin Huai really wanted to tear Yang Weiguo's mouth apart. It's really too hateful. Qin Huairu, this is my last warning to you. Release him immediately and draw a clear line with him, otherwise I won't recognize you as a mother. Bang Ji is not blind or deaf. How could he not know that Qin Huairu and Silly Zhu still maintain an unclear relationship? It's just that no one has mentioned the past in these years, and he was able to benefit from foolishness, so he didn't say anything. How could he not remain silent when someone mentions it now? Stick meme, can you stop listening to him talk nonsense and consider it for me? Qin Huai was so angry that he even fell for such an obvious provocation. It's really brainless. If you don't draw a clear line with him, then from today on, I will cut ties with you. You are no longer my mother, and I am no longer your son. After finishing the meme, he turned around and ran out of the courtyard. He doesn't want to stay. He doesn't want to continue losing face here. He wants Qin Huairu to know his attitude. Stick meme. Come back to me. Come back to me. Qin Huai shouted loudly for the stick meme, but in the end, he still couldn't call the stick meme back. Woo-woo. Why am I so unfortunate? Why doesn't he even understand me? Qin Huai was crouching on the ground, crying bitterly, and even the foolish pillar's heart was about to melt. Qin Jie, the meme is still small and not sensible. Don't have the same opinion as him. He will come back when he thinks it through. Don't cry. Yang Weiguo looked disdainfully at the two of them and then said to Director Lin. Director Lin, there is no external interference now. You can take the people away. Director Lin nodded and turned to Yi Zhonghai, saying, Yi Zhonghai, come with us and don't force us to use force. Director Lin, I really didn't covet a penny from him, and I didn't want to take over his house. I have no children, having a house is enough. How could I go after someone else's house? Grandpa Yi doesn't want to go with them. If at this point he still doesn't understand that Yang Weiguo is not what he used to be, he will have lived in vain for so many years. It is impossible to make Director Lin lean towards helping and return from the countryside without a support. Who knows if Yang Weiguo would use his connections to put the matter to death after going to the police station with them. Once sentenced, the rest of his life will be over. So, we must never go back with them. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. Yi Zhonghai was taken away, second change. You are listening at novel full.audio. I said it's useless for you to explain to me. It's better to follow me obediently, otherwise we'll use force. Not only will you lose face, but you'll also have to suffer a bit. Director Lin insisted on taking him away and did not listen to his defense. Don't take my spouse away. He really hasn't done it before, he's unjustly accused. Yi stepped forward to protect Grandpa Yi, preventing people from the street office from approaching. Yi Zhou, hurry up and bring us here, otherwise we'll take you with us. Director Lin did not soften his heart due to Aunt Yi's obstruction, and he also dared not soften his heart. Yang Weiguo remained silent, he is going to deal with Yi Zhonghai today. You can take me away, but you absolutely cannot take my spouse away. If you dare to step forward again, I will crash and die in front of you. Seeing Director Lin not letting go, Yi threatened to die. Yi Zhonghai, if you're still a man, don't let your sick wife stand in front of you. If you haven't done these things before, just cooperate obediently. If you don't want to come with me, it proves that you are feeling guilty. Director Lin knew that Aunt Yi was not in good health and was worried about something, so he did not let his subordinates continue to take action. But he wouldn't just let Yi Zhonghai go like this. Yi Zhonghai's face was gloomy and uncertain. He looked at these neighbors, but none of them helped. In addition to anger, his heart was also very sad. At this moment, he felt the warmth and coldness of human relationships. After hesitating for a while, he still stood up and said, "Honey, don't stop me. I'll go with them. It's okay, I haven't done it before. The police will give me justice. I feel sorry for Aunt Yi, and I don't want a small portion of her to have an accident. More importantly, he cares about his reputation. Furthermore, the other party's attitude will never give up just because of Aunt Yi's obstruction. Since they will all be taken away in the end, it's better to step forward and salvage some reputation." "No, you can't go with them. Who knows how they will slander you when they get inside." Aunt Yi refused. After all, their occupation of Yang Weiguo's house is true. "My wife, fairness and ease in people's hearts. I have never done it before, so it's useless for them to slander me. You are not in good health, don't fuss around. If you have something good or bad, even if I am not taken away, I am still a sinner." Grandpa Yi's persuasion to Aunt Yi worked this time, but Aunt Yi still stepped aside. Qin Huai, who was crying, immediately got up and said to Silly Zhu, "Silly Zhu, we cannot let them take away Mr. One. I believe that Grandpa Yi is unjust. You cannot deny Grandpa Yi's kindness to you over the years just because of others' instigation. How could Qin Huai, such a clever person, not guess that there is a support behind Yang Weiguo? Plus, the fact that they occupied the house is a fact. There are too many variables when Grandpa Yi was really taken away. Yang Weiguo saw that Silly Zhu was convinced by Qin Huai and stood up to say, "Silly Zhu, are you unable to walk when you see a woman, and your intelligence has also decreased?" Qin Huai said that Yi Zhonghai has been good to you over the years. Think back on how he has been good to you over these years. Have you ever received any practical benefits besides a few words of concern verbally? I have been away for years and I don't know what the situation is, but when I didn't leave, all I saw was him asking you to do all kinds of things. Let you contribute money to support Qin Huai's family, and share with him any good things you have. Silly Zhu frowned. Looking back, it was really what Yang Weiguo said. Grandpa Yi has not given him any practical benefits except for his caring mouth. Silly Zhu hesitated again, and Qin Huai greeted Yang Weiguo's ancestors for 18 generations in his heart, continuing to say to Silly Zhu, "Silly Zhu, don't listen to his nonsense. Although Mr. Yi hasn't given you any practical benefits, he has helped you solve your problems. Without Mr. Yi's matchmaking, we cannot be together. Being a person cannot be without conscience. When Mr. Yi has an accident, we cannot stand idly by." After Qin Huai finished speaking, he saw that Director Lin had already been stopped by someone with Mr. Yi, and quickly chased after him to intercept. "No, you can't take Grandpa Yi away. Qin Huai, do you also want to be taken with you? Your son lives in the house, and you have a share in occupying the house." Director Lin's warning startled Qin Huai. At this moment, she regained her senses and was the mastermind behind the occupation of the house. "If you really want to be taken away, there will definitely be an accident. I didn't, my son was just temporarily staying. At that time, Grandpa Yi arranged for my son to stay." Qin Huai dared not admit that Lord Yi had been taken away, and she could still maneuver outside to find a way to save him. If she is also taken away, if Silly Zhu is fooled by Yang Weiguo again, no one will save her and Grandpa Yi. After speaking, she gave Grandpa Yi a subtle glance. Grandpa Yi understood and quickly said, "That's right, I did arrange for Bang Gung to live there, and it has nothing to do with Qin Huai. I thought about returning the house to Yang Weiguo when he came back, but I never thought about occupying it." Grandpa Yi is not a fool, he naturally thought that if Qin Huai stayed, he could save him. "Director Lin, this is just his one-sided statement. I think you should take Qin Huai with you." They could think of this later, and Yang Weiguo could naturally think of it, so he suggested taking Qin Huai away. "No, you can't take Qin Jia away. This matter has nothing to do with him." Silly Zhu, who was hesitating, quickly stood up to protect Qin Huai. "If Grandpa Yi is taken away, he can ignore it, but if Qin Huai is taken away, it is absolutely not possible. Director Lin, the house was indeed arranged by Lao Yi to temporarily accommodate Bang Gung, and I can prove it." Grandpa Er stepped forward to testify. Although he knew he would be taken back and nothing would happen, he just didn't want Yang Weiguo to succeed. "Director Lin, the situation at that time was indeed like this." Uncle San also stood up. "After all, the neighbor has been around for so many years, and he doesn't want Yi Zhonghai to go to jail." Later, several kind-hearted neighbors came forward to prove it. Finally, Qin Huai was still not taken away. Only Grandpa 1 and Grandpa 2, father and son, were taken away. Yang Weiguo was not surprised by this result. If Qin Huai is not so easy to deal with, she always has a way to make others take responsibility for her. As Director Lin and the others left, Yang Weiguo returned to his room and threw out the stick. "Yang Weiguo, what are you doing? Even if you want to go back to the house, you should wait for us to tidy it up." Silly Zhu said displeased. Before Yang Weiguo could answer, Qin Huai pulled Silly Pillar home. "Silly Zhu, those are all worthless things. He can throw them away if he wants. You come home with me, I have something important to tell you. Isn't Qin Huai angry when she sees Yang Weiguo throwing stick memes? Not really. On the contrary, she is more angry than Silly Zhu. She just has reason and knows what to do now. The most important thing now is to rescue Mr. Yi. We cannot waste time arguing with Yang Weiguo. The day is long, and there is plenty of time to tidy up Yang Weiguo. They were unprepared and caught off guard by Yang Weiguo's defeat today. Next time, they are prepared and will definitely make Yang Weiguo unable to bear it. Over the years, those who have offended her will not have a good ending. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. Qin Huai seizes the fire and robs, third watch. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Silly Zhu, what's wrong with you today? Why were you fooled around by Yang Weiguo? If it weren't for your previous hesitation, Grandpa Yi wouldn't have been taken away. Take Silly Zhu home, Qin Huai first criticized him. I think the content in my heart is true, and I have been filial to him all these years. He has not given me any substantial benefits. Silly Zhu could see that Daqing's notes had a high level of authenticity in his heart. Silly pillar, why haven't you figured it out at this point? These are all traps set by Yang Weiguo. Additionally, your claim that Mr. Yi's kindness towards you is false and you have not received substantial benefits. Don't even think about how many people you have offended in the courtyard with your stinky mouth. If it weren't for Grandpa Yi helping you, you would have become the target of public criticism long ago. Also, if you have a conflict with Su Damao, you should beat him up. If it weren't for Grandpa Yi helping you, could you win every time? Besides, how many people have complained about you in the factory? If it weren't for Grandpa Yi helping you, even if you weren't fired, you would still have been penalized. Without Mr. 1, not only can you still secure your position as the kitchen boss, but you are not even an ordinary chef. Don't just focus on the benefits of getting it, these intangible benefits are more precious than material benefits. Don't say the content in the letter is not true, even if it is true, Grandpa Yi has sincerely treated you over the years. Treat you like a son and let us receive his retirement salary every month. That's all, you can't just sit idly by. Speaking of your father, if he was really forced to leave, he shouldn't have cared about the two of you. At least he sends money back to you every month, but you haven't received it, haven't replied, and have been intercepted by Mr. 1. Don't even think about it, if he really has you in his heart, if the thing that was forced away is true. Then he should be on guard. When sending money, he should not send it back to the courtyard, but to someone else and then pass it on to you. Finally, let's talk about your lifelong affairs. When he leaves, your age will be enough to get married, right? If he really has you in his heart, he should have helped you with a lifelong event before leaving. If he had helped you find a partner when he left back then, it would have been difficult to find someone in the city, but easy to find someone in the countryside. If he had helped you at that time, I would have married you instead of Jia Dongxiu. If I had married you from the beginning, the two of us would have been very happy. Silly Zhu was convinced. He began to doubt the authenticity of the letter. He was filled with hatred towards Daqing in his heart. The main reason for being convinced was that Qin Huai spoke as he did in his last words. If Daqing had him in his heart and helped him find a partner in advance, he had already married Qin Huai back home more than 20 years ago. Stick memes are not Jia Dongxiu's son, but his son. Qin Jie, I know I was wrong. What should I do now to save Grandpa 1? Seeing Silly Zhu bowing his head, Qin Huai breathed a sigh of relief. You should go to the leader immediately and ask for their help. I am trying to find a way to inform Mr. Yi to calm down and not let go. With the help of Silly Zhu, the next steps will be much easier. Letting Silly Zhu go find the big leader is to worry about Yang Weiguo's backing and directly convict Mr. Yi. After explaining to Silly Zhu, he was sent out of the courtyard, and Qin Huai returned to the courtyard to find Aunt Yi. Huai, no matter what, you have to save Grandpa Yi this time. He can't cause any trouble. Aunt Yi immediately sought help when Qin Huai came in. I didn't ask Qin Huai before because she knew that Qin Huai was trying to deceive a foolish pillar. Don't worry, Aunt Yi. I will definitely not let Grandpa Yi have any trouble. The main reason for the accident this time is still due to our family. If Grandpa Yi wasn't here to help us, nothing would have happened. So, even if I go to jail, I won't let Grandpa Yi have any trouble. This is the shrewdness of Qin Huai. At this point, she recognizes her responsibility and makes a promise. The little bump in Aunt Yi's heart is gone. If Qin Huai didn't say so and just tried to save Grandpa Yi, even if he were rescued, Aunt Yi would still have a knot in her heart. After all, this matter really arose because of Qin Huai. Isn't occupying Yang Weigua's house for the sake of giving her son. Huai, don't blame yourself either. You don't want such a thing to happen. As long as we can save you, Mr. E, everything else is not important. If there is anything I need to do now, just arrange it and I will definitely cooperate with you to the best of my ability before Grandpa E comes out, and he doesn't want to sit idly by and wants to do something. Aunt E, saving Grandpa E requires some money to operate. Silly Zhu went to beg the leader not to go empty-handed, always to buy some gifts. As a leader, the gifts purchased should not be too bad. If it's convenient for you, just give me 300 yuan. If it's not convenient, I'll figure out a solution. Qin Huai took advantage of the situation to rob. Whatever operation is said to be deceiving Aunt Yi. Silly Zhu goes to see the big leader, not to mention bringing any gifts, and sometimes even bringing back some. She said this just to deceive Aunt Yi's money. Aunt Yi has no doubts. After all, what Qin Huai said is common sense. I'll give you the money now. Aunt Yi turned around and went back to the house to give money to Qin Huai. Qin Huai took the money and comforted Aunt Yi with a few words, asking her to wait for news at home before leaving. Coming out of the courtyard, Qin Huai rushed straight to the police station. She requested to see Grandpa Yi, but she is currently undergoing an interrogation and will wait until it is completed. Qin Huai waited for over an hour before seeing Grandpa Yi. Grandpa Yi, they didn't do anything to you, did they? No, they are just conducting a normal interrogation. I have said everything that needs to be said. Now they need further investigation. As long as the investigation results match what I said, I can go out. Grandpa Yi had something to say, implying that Qin Huai had not said anything. Qin Huai understood and said, "Don't worry, Grandpa Yi. We're not idle outside either. You haven't done it before, nothing will happen. After my persuasion, Silly Zhu understood and he has forgiven you. I didn't come over, I went to find the big leader. Uncle Air and the others have already gone home. You can go back soon." Qin Huai hinted to him to rest assured. "Huai, thank you. Even though it was because of Qin Huai, she helped out when something happened, and I still want to be grateful to her." It can be seen how clever Qin Huai's methods were. She chatted with Grandpa Yi a few more words to reassure him before leaving. Returning to the courtyard, Andy had already helped her tidy up the things thrown out by Yang Weigua. This is also what she expected. I didn't let Aunt Yi follow, on the one hand to prevent Aunt Yi from knowing that she didn't use money to operate, and on the other hand to ask Aunt Yi to help her tidy up things. She knows Aunt Yi, and waiting at home without finding something to do will definitely make her uneasy. This time, she not only had nothing to do, earning 300 yuan, but also received gratitude from Mr. and Mrs. 1, making her the biggest winner. But will things really develop as she thinks? Will Yang Weigua easily let this matter end endlessly? Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. One pot, Qin Huai and others were also taken away. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After they left in Qin Huai, Yang Weigua went back to his house to tidy up the things with sticks and stems. Just finished tidying up for a while when Yan Jifang and his two brothers arrived. Weiguo will help you tidy up. The two brothers came over to directly explain their purpose. Didn't you just want to go against me again? Why are you coming over to help me tidy up now? Weiguo, what we just did with you was a last resort. We used to oppose you because of your relationship with Silly Zhu. Now that you have been messing around with the Silly Zhu and his team, we have decided to get closer to you. Part of the reason why Yan bullied Yang Weiguo before the liberation was indeed because of his foolish pillar. They can't beat silly pillars and dare not bully stick memes. They can only vent their anger by bullying Yang Weiguo. Today I saw Yang Weiguo exerting great power, and the two brothers wanted to repair their relationship. On the one hand, he is worried about Yang Weiguo's retaliation, and on the other hand, he wants to be bullied by silly pillars and seek help from Yang Weiguo in the future. Judging from Yang Weiguo's performance just now, Silly Pillar is definitely unable to defeat Yang Weiguo. Now that Yang Weiguo and Silly Zhu have fallen out, he will definitely not refuse to help in the future. Okay, then follow me in the future and I won't treat you unfairly. Yang Weiguo promised to ask them for help. After all, if he wants to do business next, he also needs assistance. If their brothers perform well, don't mind taking them to get rich. As for their past conflicts with their predecessors, they can also let bygones be bygones. The two brothers, with the consent of Yang Weiguo, immediately began to take action. Both of them worked very hard, and Yang Weiguo asked them to do whatever they wanted. With the help of the two of them, I used it for an hour to throw out the things inside the house and clean them up. He doesn't plan to keep the furniture used by Bang Gung. He sells the furniture that belongs to him to the Yan Jifang brothers at a low price. The Yan Jifang brothers have no formal job and no money. However, these furniture are still usable and cheap. They went to ask Mr. San for money, and he also gave them. After the house was cleaned up, he left the courtyard. Yan Jifang's brothers wanted to follow, but Yang Weiguo did not agree. Yang Weiguo first went to find a carpenter and asked him to make a bed according to the regulations. Other furniture can be made later, and the bed must be made first. He added money and asked the carpenter to finish it today. There happened to be ready-made accessories, and the carpenter readily agreed. After the negotiation, Yang Weiguo went to the police station to report Yi Zhonghai, Silly Zhu, and the others. He shouldn't have gone to the countryside back then. It was Yi Zhonghai and his team who fooled him into agreeing to go. Besides deceiving him to go to the countryside, his work has also been taken up. This matter can't just be settled like that. Leaving the police station, Yang Weiguo went to Dove City. You cannot keep your personal space empty all the time, after all, one day outside is equivalent to 1 year inside. When Yang Weiguo was making a big purchase, Silly Zhu had already returned to the courtyard. Qin Jie, the leader, has agreed to help. As long as Mr. Yi has not done it before, no one can wrongly accuse him. Silly Pillar, don't you know about Mr. Yi's character? How could he possibly do such a thing? As for the matter of occupying the house, it is impossible to establish. After all, the house is still under Yang Weiguo's name, and he returned early. As long as we bite the bullet and wait for the back cover room to be renovated before moving, with the help of the big leader, we won't have any problems. If Qin Huai recalls, there is no need to be afraid of occupying houses. She was grateful that the street office did not agree to handle the transfer procedures at the beginning, but if they did, it would be troublesome now. Now there is only the matter of Grandpa Yi helping Yang Weiguo receive subsidies back then. However, after so many years, it was not easy to investigate, and Yang Weiguo didn't go hungry much back then. The leader promised to help again, and Mr. Yi will be fine. I'll take care of him later. Without us, he would have starved to death long ago. He actually retaliated with kindness, he's just a white-eyed wolf. The more Silly Zhu thought, the angrier he became. When he came back, he hit someone and fabricated evidence to provoke his relationship with Mr. Yi. He couldn't swallow the sound of not harshly scolding Yang Weiguo. Silly Zhu, don't be impulsive. Don't trouble him when he comes back. We can't stimulate him at this time, wait until this time before we talk. Qin Huai reminds Silly Zhu not to be impulsive in order to avoid unnecessary branching. I'll beat him up, won't he dare to have me arrested? Silly Zhu subconsciously felt that Yang Weiguo was letting him handle it. After all, when Yang Weiguo followed him to eat, if Yang Weiguo dared to resist, his identity as a white-eyed wolf would be established. He doesn't believe Yang Weiguo and doesn't care about his reputation at all. Silly Zhu, judging from today's performance, he is no longer the Yang Weiguo we used to know. You say he's a white-eyed wolf, what can't he do? I know you are very angry now, but in fact, I am even angrier than you. But impulsiveness cannot solve the problem, it will only make things worse. You can deal with him any time you want, there's no need to provoke him at this critical moment. I don't even know who Yang Weiguo's backer is now, or to what extent their relationship is good. Wait until the investigation is clear before designing retaliation. Okay, I'll listen to you. I won't touch him for now. Silly Zhu still listens to Qin Huai's words very much. Qin Huai said there would be a chance for revenge in the future, and he firmly believed that Qin Huai would not deceive him. By the way, have you eaten yet? No. Then I'll go make you something to eat. I'll do it myself. No need, you've been working hard for a long time, take a good rest. Qin Huai insisted on letting Silly Zhu rest, and Silly Zhu was very satisfied. He also enjoys Qin Huai treating him like this. After eating and resting for a while, 2 police officers came to the door. Qin Huai has a bad premonition. Grandpa Yi has not returned, but the police have come. Isn't it Uncle Yi who confessed them? She felt very anxious in her heart, but she still calmed herself down. Public security comrades, why did you come here? We are here to take you back for investigation. Please cooperate. Accepting investigation. What investigation? We haven't violated the law. Qin Huai looked innocent on the surface, but his heart sank. Grandpa Yi really betrayed them. Isn't it a promise to bite hard and not let go? How to involve them too? 5 years ago, you used methods to design martyr families going to the countryside, occupying their jobs, and occupying their houses. What is this not a violation of the law? You'd better obediently follow us back to accept the investigation, otherwise don't blame us for forcibly bringing you back. The public security did not give them a good face, and those who even pitted the families of martyrs must not be good people. Why should they be polite to them? Comrade public security, is there any misunderstanding? Qin Huai was very flustered in her heart, but she still held on to a glimmer of luck and refused to admit it. Let me ask you one last time, do you deserve to cooperate? The police officer said impatiently. Silly Zhu was furious and wanted to refute, but was stopped by Qin Huai. In this situation, only by cooperating obediently and finding a solution on the way. If Qin Huai stabilizes the foolish pillar can only cooperate obediently. When they left the courtyard, they found out that there were not only the 2 of them, but also the 2nd and 3rd uncles who had to follow them for investigation. At this point, they were all taken in one pot and sent in. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Aunt E kneels down, Chapter 5. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Guard, I beg you, let go of my spouse. He's already so old and can't withstand any trouble. We used to apologize to you, and I apologize to you. You can say whatever conditions you have, as long as I can do it, I will meet you upon learning of Yang Weiguo's return. Aunt E immediately came to plead for mercy. Aunt Air and Aunt San also came over, and they followed Yang Weiguo. Weiguo, it was Qin Huai who did what they did in the beginning. Old Lu only advised you a few words, but he did not participate in your work when you were replaced. Wei Guo, my old man Yen was just following me and didn't say a word. He didn't even participate in the matter of your job being replaced. Please show him your respect and let him go. Our whole family will be grateful to you. Aunt Air and Aunt San feel very unfair, and the benefits are not much. Now that something happens, they are also dragged down, which is very unfair. Yen Jifang and Yen Jiquang also pleaded for mercy. Wei Guo, you know my father's character. He likes to take advantage, but he only takes small advantages. He will never do things that deceive or take risks. Wei Guo, as long as you spare my father, feel free to speak up if you need anything from me in the future. Although the two brothers are dissatisfied with Grandpa San, he is always their father, and they don't want Grandpa San to be in prison even when he is so old. They didn't participate, I can waive their responsibility, but I need their cooperation. If they don't cooperate and continue to shield the foolish pillars, then I can only treat them as comrades in the memory of his predecessor. Yen Bugui did not participate much in the bangs back then. The reason why my predecessor agreed was because Silly Zhu brought his kindness as a reward. My predecessor was an honest person, and I grew up living with Silly Zhu and eating at his house. Combined with Yi Zhonghai's moral kidnapping, he instilled in his predecessor from a young age that he was foolish and had shown kindness towards him. So my predecessor went to the countryside instead of stick memes to repay kindness. It is only because their predecessors were foolish that they believed they were grateful to them. To sum up, they did not show any kindness to their predecessor. They just barely fed their predecessor, and there were good things that could not turn to their predecessor. I also had to take on most of the household chores from my predecessor. You should know that in addition to subsidies from the government and the factory, there are also supplies sent by my predecessor's father's comrades during festivals. These supplies are enough for my predecessor to eat meat 3 times a month and have a meal of white bread the next day. Most of it went into their stomachs, while their predecessors only received a small portion. If it weren't for them taking custody of their predecessor, but for the arrangement of the street office, the predecessor would definitely have had a better life. Following the silly pillar doesn't mean being treated harshly. So, what they call kindness is farting. We will definitely cooperate. I will go find Lao Lu now and ask him to cooperate, saying everything he knows. Aunt Air quickly agreed. Aunt San also followed suit and said, Wei Guo, don't worry, my old Yen will definitely not shield them. After decades of marriage, Aunt San knows Grandpa San too well. He would never set himself up for the sake of others. Then you can go over first and let them cooperate. I'll go over after dinner. With the testimony of 2 masters, Yi Zhonghai and his companions are doomed. What if we let the 2 of them go? We'll find another chance to deal with them in the future. With Yang Weiguo's agreement, Aunt Air and Aunt San immediately set off, and Lu Guangtian and the others also left, leaving Aunt Yi behind. As they walked away, Aunt Yi pleaded again, Wei Guo, based on the affection of our neighbors for many years, can you give them another chance? I assure you that after you let them go this time, they will never go against you. You can also propose any other conditions, as long as we can do it, we will definitely agree to you. If you want money, I can give you 3,000 yuan and everyone has to pay a price for the mistakes he has made. Although I am very short of money now, I won't just let them go for the sake of money. Yang Weiguo refused. 3,000 yuan was considered a huge sum of money in the early 1980s. The average worker's salary is only about 30 yuan. Rice costs 1.4 cents, pork costs less than 95 cents, and visiting relatives only costs 2 yuan. Most families don't even have 1,000 savings. It can be imagined that the value of 3,000 yuan. Let's get to the point. Aunt Yi was rejected again, but she still didn't give up. This time she knelt down directly and said, Wei Guo, you should take pity on me. Let them go and give them a chance. I apologize for what they did to you before, and I will ask them to apologize to you when they come out. I kowtow to you. After speaking, she really kowtowed to Yang Weiguo. "Aunt Yi, please don't do this. Your body can't withstand such turmoil. If something happens at my house, I won't be able to explain it clearly. You can get up and talk about it." Yang Weiguo looked a bit impatient, but he didn't let go. Although Aunt Yi was not very involved in those things, she couldn't have been unaware. It's also an accomplice, we can't just soften our hearts just because she knelt down. He doesn't want to do business in the future and be disturbed or disrupted by them. Clean them up all at once, and they won't dare to come and cause trouble in the future. "Weiguo, if you don't agree to me, I won't get up." Aunt Yi thought Yang Weiguo had softened her heart, and she didn't even remember it. "Aunt Yi, you are blackmailing me. What I hate the most is that others are blackmailing me. If you continue to be stubborn, I will have people catch you together. I can't save my spouse, I'm not even alive. You can do whatever you want." Aunt Yi really doesn't care about life and death, she just wants to save Grandpa Yi now. As long as she can save Grandpa Yi, she is willing to take this life. "Hey! Why do you need to?" Yang Weiguo let out a deep sigh. "Weiguo, your first uncle was not like this before. He is a straightforward and selfless person. He calculated that everyone else would care for me and him in the future. If I could give birth to 1 or 2.5 daughters for him, he wouldn't have to worry about retirement and wouldn't do these things for Qin Huai." Aunt Yi blamed herself for not giving birth to a son and 1/2 daughters for Grandpa Yi. Seeing Grandpa Yi calculating and deceiving others in order to have a stable future, she felt very uncomfortable in her heart. She felt that it was all her fault, she had caused trouble for Yi Zhonghai. "If you want to kowtow here, you can kowtow." After Yang Weiguo finished speaking, he turned around and left. He was afraid that this would soften his heart, so he agreed to Aunt Yi. "Weiguo, I beg you, give them another chance, they really know they're wrong." Aunt Yi knelt down and chased after her, shouting loudly, "Qin outing in happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10. Changes in situation, for Flower monthly tickets with additional changes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yang Weiguo. Is your heart so cruel? Aunt Yi sat weakly on the ground. She knelt down and kowtowed, but Yang Weiguo remained unmoved. Qin Huai and Silly Pillar have both been captured, who else can save them? She was desperate. The neighbor couldn't bear to see her like this and came to help and comfort her. "Aunt Yi, please be more open-minded. Grandpa Yi may not necessarily have something to do. Yeah, the verdict hasn't come down yet, there's still a turning point. You need to pick yourself up. A lucky person has their own destiny, and Mr. Yi will be fine." The neighbors comforted Aunt Yi with their mouths, but in fact, they also felt that Grandpa Yi was doomed this time. They can also understand Yang Weiguo, who was trapped in the countryside during his prime years and his work was taken over. If it were them, they would not easily forgive. After all, it's not easy to come back from the countryside. Even if you come back, it's still difficult to find a job. If Yang Weiguo hadn't been lucky enough to meet people, he wouldn't have returned so soon. If it were them, without connections, they would have to spend their entire lives in the countryside. "Thank you for your comfort. You don't have to worry about me or help me. I'll just wait here. If you don't believe me, he won't come back." Aunt Yi refused the help of her neighbors and insisted on staying here until Yang Weiguo returned. "Then don't sit on the ground either. I'll give you a stool and you can sit and wait." The neighbor no longer advised her and gave her a stool to sit and wait. Aunt Yi accepted the other party's kindness and sat waiting for Yang Weiguo to return. At the same time, Silly Zhu and the 3 masters were locked together. "Lao Yi, Silly Pillar, it was you who fooled Yang Weiguo into going to the countryside, and you also took over the house. I just had a meal without any benefit. Now there's an accident, you have to take full responsibility and don't drag me into the water. Lao Yan is right. The advantage is that you can take it. If something happens, we cannot help you bear the burden. The meaning of Uncle San and Grandpa Er is very obvious, which is to let Grandpa Yi and Silly Pillar recognize each other. Why are you two so loud? Are you worried that people outside won't hear you? The worst-case scenario is not yet here. As long as you insist that you haven't taken over his house, everyone will be fine. Grandpa Yi cannot just plead guilty like this. Let's hold on for a while, maybe there's still a turning point. Now that you recognize it, there is no turning back. Is it because of the house issue now? We are being arrested because you deceived Yang Weigua into going to the countryside and took over his job. Even if you don't acknowledge this matter, you can't escape. Don't expect us to help you share the blame. If you don't plead guilty, I will confess tomorrow about your plan to occupy Yang Weigua's house. You will be punished even more severely when the time comes. Grandpa San said angrily. I didn't say it today, it's for the sake of my long-time neighbor, and I don't want him to be sentenced too heavily. Otherwise, I already told Director Lin by noon today. I agree with Lao Yan, if we can't go out tomorrow, don't blame us for being ruthless. Grandpa Er also stepped forward to express his attitude. The Silly Pillar, who had not spoken yet, spoke up. Grandpa Yi, take all the blame and let us go. When you come out, I promise to take care of you for the rest of your life. If you let everyone bear the burden together, don't expect me to provide you with retirement in the future. Silly Zhu doesn't want to go to jail. Once sentenced, the rest of his life will be over. Pillar, I'm so old, do you still have the heart to let me suffer in prison? And the cause of the matter is all because of your family. You want to get a house for Bang Ji, please him, and make him agree to your marriage with Qin Huai. I was helping you, not for you. As for me doing such a thing. And back then, Yang Weigua would agree because of you. Grandpa Yi doesn't want to go to jail. He's so old that he can't bear the hardships in prison. In fact, it was also because of Silly Zhu that he did this. He doesn't want to go to jail for others. Even if it would make Silly Zhu ignore him in the future. If Silly Zhu doesn't give him retirement, he can still rely on Qin Huai and Bangen. Silly Zhu, what Lao Yi said is a fact, not because he helped you. Everyone will be fine. Uncle San agreed, and in retrospect, it is indeed up to Silly Zhu to take responsibility. Silly Pillar, if you don't want to, we'll confess Qin Huai, she's the ultimate beneficiary. Grandpa Er gave Silly Zhu a suggestion. No, absolutely not. Qin Jie cannot go to jail. Silly Zhu regards Qin Huai as more important than himself. How could he be willing to let Qin Huai go to jail? If you don't want her to go to jail, you'll take the blame on yourself. If you have the care of a senior leader, you will definitely find a way to make a light judgment. You don't have to worry about not finding a job after coming out. With your cooking skills, you can take on more banquets after coming out, and your income will not be lower than working in a steel rolling mill. Finding a breakthrough, Uncle San continued to advise Silly Zhu. Subsequently, Grandpa 1 and Grandpa 2 also followed suit and advised. Finally, the third and second masters forced Qin Huai to confess, and only then did the foolish Pillar agree. With Silly Zhu's promise, they all breathed a sigh of relief. At this moment, Aunt Er and Aunt San arrived. The two gentlemen went to see them and they expressed Yang Weigua's promise. The two gentlemen did not agree and comforted them, so they could come out soon. Not long after returning to the detention room, they were called out again. Several people were puzzled as to why they were called out at this moment. Is it difficult to make a move? Arriving at the mediation room with worries, they met Yang Weigua. Speaking of which, Yang Weigua came out of the courtyard and casually ate something outside before heading straight to the police station. After all, he promised the two aunties that as long as the two grandfathers confessed what Silly Zhu and Grandpa Yi had done, he would let them go. Just as I inquired about the progress of the case, I was called to the office by the director. Wei Guo, the situation has changed. I was just going to talk to you. Uncle Zheng, what changes have occurred? That's right, the two of them know each other. This Uncle Zheng is a comrade in arms of his predecessor's father, and his relationship is quite good. Just now there was a phone call from the steel rolling mill, saying that your position has been kept and that the silly pillars have not taken over. As for being deceived into going to the countryside, you went to handle the procedures yourself, and you couldn't provide evidence that they forced you. The final thing about the house is that it is still under your name. They are just temporarily staying and not occupying it, and we have no way to deal with them. At most, we can only detain for a few days and educate ourselves before releasing the person. Zheng explained the situation in detail. Yang Weiguo frowned tightly. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.